So after grinding out Genshin Impact, trying to get your favorite waifu and grinding out wishes, you get the same sword again for the 20th time, or you die to max level Storm Terror again like a certain somebody on my friends list who is upset that I beat Storm Terror in my first go. Anyways, you decide to load up for Honor for some god unknown reason. You want to suffer, or maybe you're here because you do not want to suffer. There are many game modes in For Honor, from duels, brawls, Dominion, Breach, and God forbid even Tribute. Who the hell cares about Tribute anyways, but that's not what we're here for. We're here for Breach. 5 tips in Breach that are going to make you play better, or just 5 overall tips that'll help make your Breach experience a little less painful. There are plenty of heroes to choose from, plenty of team comps, and just like the Dominion series and Dominion as a whole, there is a meta and there is a feat meta. Let's get right into it. I hope this helps y'all out. Now, I know you're seeing this image here of Kiang Pass, and you see all these numbers and symbols, and it's spooky scary, alright? It's spooky scary skeleton time, but there is a simple way to break it down, and there's going to be a term I use, because there is a term I use on streams that make people think, Ian, what the hell are you saying? But in simple terms, think of the ram lane, meaning the symbols there with the white arrows, as the mid lane. Think of it as the mid lanes and zones 1 to 8 as your Dominion zones, such as A, B, C, D, and so forth. Now, the term that I use on stream a lot that makes people think, Ian, what the hell are you saying? What does this mean? Is beached. Beached is simply when the ram gets to a point to where it is stuck and it is being constantly attacked by enemy pikemen. That normally happens whenever you push past zone 5 without getting zone 4. That is what the term beached means, and it is a spot you do not want to be in. So just as a reminder, think of zones 1 through 8, and alphabetical order as A, B, C, and D, and so forth, and think of the ram lane as the mid lane. Just think of it like that, and you might have an easier time, as I understand that a lot of people want to play the mode, but it is very confusing, and there are particular sets of 4 stacks or higher reps running around that I may or may not be guilty of, causing havoc, that know how to play the game more. So I want to give Breach some love, and to possibly help people understand the mode better. So, just think of the ram lane as the mid lane, and zones 1 through 8 as your capture point, and remember, one of the biggest things in mind when you are playing Breach is to make sure your ram does not get beached. If it gets beached, you're in for a bad time. It is no surprise that feats and team comps make up the meta in For Honor. A game such as this will always have a team comp, and even Breach has its own meta and team comps. Now, it is no surprise here that Warmonger here is the best attacker in the game because of her corruptions. These 4 heroes, I think, are some of the best attackers you can pick, and you will have a better chance of winning if you have these heroes on your team, such as JJ for his Phalanx, Fire Flask and Team Fighter, Musha for Juggernaut and Fear itself, and Raider, just because it's Raider. Let's be honest, it's Raider. He's one of the best in the game. He has Fury Flask, high damage, Team Fighter, and he can pair very well with Musha and help set up games with Warmonger's corruption. But you see a Warmonger and you're like, oh shit, I need to figure out what I can do to help stop that, because when you see Warmonger, you're going late game. You have here possibly one of the best defender teams, BP for his shield, Raider and JJ for the team fighting, Phalanx, Fire Flask, and then you have Griffin here. Griffin makes up for his lack of kit in healing. He has rapid refresh and 3 healing feats. His main job is to essentially heal a commander. With a Warmonger on your team, that commander is gonna take damage and Griffin is there to heal it back. Now the question is if you can get it. Now there are some heroes you can throw in and mix and mash between them. Every hero can be used in Breach, some more useful than others, such as Goki's Staggering Blow, Fury Flask, Gladiator's Toe Stab and Fear itself, Zanhu's high damage with his tier 4, Kaze Stance, and Kyoshin's tier 4 to keep people locked up, and you have Nuxia's Cow Traps and Corruption to help CC the enemies. It's a whole different ballgame when you're playing Breach, and it's a whole different beast, and you gotta be ready for it. It is no surprise that a Breach match can seem like chaos whenever you are spectating it, and what you need to consider a threat. However, there is not just one threat, there are multiple threats. Little ones, in fact. Meet the pikemen. These little shits. These guys are going to be the bane of your existence if you choose to play this mode. And they are a nuisance, dealing about 8 damage and have 50 health. They are the main reason why a lot of people steer clear from this mode, but there is a way to deal with them for at least 2 minutes. Meet the Guardian, the most broken thing about Breach itself, from attacker respawns to you name it. This guy is the most broken thing. He is essentially a free kill and will grant you full health, full shield, unlimited stamina, and a hefty chunk of renown once you kill him for 2 minutes. He is by far the most broken thing, and however, you should be smart about getting him, because he is neutral and he does not discriminate who comes into that house. But if you are able to get him, it is well worth it, considering you can one-shot Pikeman for those 2 minutes. Keep in mind, once you die, you lose his very powerful buff. There are many times where I'm playing Breach matches solo, or I'm playing with my friends and we see the enemy team make a big mistake, and that is not utilizing the Cauldron enough. In moments where you cannot get down to Ram, the Cauldron is your best friend, dealing a bar of Ram health. On top of that, if you have an Inspire on your team from one of the heroes I mentioned earlier, you will also be chipping away at that Ram. That Cauldron is your best friend, and do not be afraid to go up there and use it whenever it is contested by the attackers. Just because it is contested by the attackers does not mean that you cannot do it. It is still very valuable to do, and many teams that I have seen, once it's captured, they do not even bother trying to go pull it, and we get through with more health than expected. So if you think you are able to get that Cauldron, go for it. If you are confident, go for it. Damage is damage, and especially if there is a character like Warmonger on the other team, you're going to need all the damage you can get, and it is not going to be an easy fight to retake that Cauldron. So the final phase of Breach, the Commander's Lair, where everything hits the fan, where it can be over in the next 30 seconds or drag on for 15 minutes depending upon how each times are. Regardless, both teams have one thing in mind: that Commander. The defenders want to keep the Commander's health up as high as possible while draining the attacker's lives, while the attackers want to murk him and drain him till he is dead. The Commander, however, is not a very smart individual, and his programming is bad. He is dumb. You need to give him gum, and you get gum by watching my videos like a big-brained individual. So there are many things that can affect the Commander, like you saw earlier, such as Warmonger's corruptions and healing banners, but even though he is dumb, he does deal massive damage and has some impressive one-shot combos with his bomb and charged heavy. So do your best to set those up for him whenever you're on the defenders, and if you are attacking, you have to kind of predict when he's going to do that one-shot move, because if you're stuck in the middle of it, you are screwed. And remember, at the end of the day, you can only do so much with your randoms if you are solo queuing. They don't know what's going on in your head. So, just perform to the best of your ability. So you made it to the end. Congratulations, this is my first separate video I've done like this in quite a long time. Now, with that being said, Breach itself can be a chaotic mode, and it has its moments where it's very high intensity and competitive, but remember, because at the end of the day, it is not considered a competitive mode because of how improperly balanced it is. There is a huge opportunity missed with this mode, and it's going to need to be reworked from the ground up again to even be viable. Honestly, if it were up to me, if there were For Honor 2, it would be better if this mode did not come back at all, just because of how hard it flopped. But with that being said, it is a fun mode if you decide to play it and main this mode. I have mained this mode ever since it came out, and it is fun. You are sieging a castle out of all things, and there are many different locations you can be in. But one final tip that I'm going to give y'all for free, which all of these tips are free really, is to not stress yourself out. If you are solo queuing, there are people in this game that are absolute randoms that make you question life itself and how they manage to tie their shoes or take a shower. Because at the end of the day, Breach randoms do not know what's going on in your head, and you don't know what's going on in theirs. Now, if you are solo queuing, you are going to win, you are going to lose. Now, if you have a team, that's even better, but at the end of the day, like all things in life, you win some and lose some, and if you stress yourself out too much, you are not going to perform properly and to the best of your ability. And that's what I want people to do. I want people to perform as good as they can and have the knowledge on the mode itself. Now, with these tips in mind, I hope y'all learned something, and if y'all want me to go into more specific details, more minute and numerical details, please let me know. With that being said, subscribe to become a SEAL baby, and I'll see all y'all in the next one.